If you do a Google search for information about eclipses, you'll mostly find doomsday warnings, predictions about the apocalypse, and other ridiculous messages about how scared you should be during an eclipse. These are all lies. In this video, I'm going to share the truth about eclipse energy and give you 3 steps you can use today to harness eclipse energy and use it to support your journey toward becoming your best self. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll be alerted every single time I post a new video about the truth behind being a sensitive woman. My name is Ashley Ann. I'm a neuroscientist and quantum theorist who teaches sensitive women the science behind their sensitivities so they can turn them into superpowers. I've been studying the quantum mechanics of gravity, the phases of the moon, and eclipse energy for over a decade now, and I can tell you for sure that eclipse energy is invaluable to your evolution. You just need to know how to harness it. And by the end of this video, you'll know how to do just that. First, let me start out by quickly sharing the science behind what an eclipse actually is. Here's the thing. Eclipse energy has everything to do with gravity. Gravity is the force that makes apples fall from trees, keeps your feet firmly planted on the ground, and locks the Earth into an orbit around the sun. We experience gravity the most in relation to Earth's gravity. When we throw a ball up, it comes back down to Earth. Leaves fall from trees, or when we jump up, we fall down. Because we're so close to Earth, we experience her gravity the most. But Earth's gravity isn't the only gravity affecting us. Every single day, the gravity of other celestial bodies is also acting on us, like the moon, for example. As it moves around the Earth, it pulls the water on Earth toward it, creating a bulge. The places on Earth closest and farthest from the moon end up having high tides, while the other places on Earth experience low tides. I use this example to illustrate something very important. Many people think that paying attention to full moons, new moons, and eclipses is some woo-woo, made-up, mystical nonsense. But the truth is that the moon has a very real, very measurable effect on all the water of this planet. And you, my dear fellow human, are living in a body that's made up of mostly water. In the same way the moon is pulling on the water in the oceans, it's also moving the water inside your body, which, as you can imagine, influences every single operation inside your cells, including your metabolism, your mood, and your menstrual cycle. Is this resonating with you? If so, hit that like button to let me know and tell me in the comments, how do the phases of the moon affect you? Now that you understand the powerful role of gravity on your actual cells, let's quickly apply these ideas to an eclipse, and then I'll share 3 steps you can do right now to harness its energy for your healing. The word eclipse literally means to block out, obscure, or hide. The moon's orbit is tilted a bit, so most of the time, the moon passes below or above the Earth in relation to the sun, so nothing gets blocked. But when the moon lines up just the right way, it can create 2 different eclipse scenarios, a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. During a lunar eclipse, the Earth is positioned between the sun and the moon. When this happens, the Earth blocks the sun's light from hitting the moon, hence lunar eclipse. During a solar eclipse, the moon positions itself between the sun and the Earth. When it does, it blocks the sun's light from hitting the Earth, hence solar eclipse. As you can imagine, this means that the energy created by each eclipse is very different. And that brings us to step 1 of harnessing eclipse energy. Identify the type of eclipse. Before harnessing eclipse energy, you need to know which type of eclipse you're dealing with. And of course, you can always ask Mama Google what type of eclipse is happening next, and she'll tell you. But a good hack for knowing which eclipse is coming next is to look at the phase of the moon. A lunar eclipse always happens during a full moon, whereas a solar eclipse always happens during a new moon. It's important to know which type of eclipse is happening because this will help you understand the type of gravity and energy you're working with. And once you do that, you can move on to step 2. Identify the type of energy. Remember, in a very measurable, objective, scientific way, the gravity of the moon impacts us here on Earth. It's constantly moving water around, which means it's also moving the water inside you around. During an eclipse, the gravity that affects you is influenced by the position of the sun, Earth, and moon. During a lunar eclipse, the moon ends up on the outer orbit of the Earth, so it's positioned away from the sun. This means that here on Earth, the gravity of the moon ends up pulling us in one direction, while the gravity of the sun ends up pulling us in the opposite direction. During a solar eclipse, the moon ends up in the middle of the sun and Earth. Here on Earth, that means that the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun are in the same direction. These two gravitational scenarios create two very different types of energy, what we'll call splitting energy and acceleration energy. Let's look at the lunar eclipse first, which creates splitting energy. During a lunar eclipse, the sun is on one side of the Earth and the moon is on the other. In this scenario, a lunar eclipse creates a two-directional pull of gravity on the water in your cells. If you happen to be a sensitive person, this situation can literally make you feel torn. As the lunar eclipse approaches, you might find yourself feeling confused and disorganized and disoriented. And you might find yourself facing the real scenario where you have to make a decision. Remember, a lunar eclipse happens during a full moon, which is the phase of the moon when energy becomes heightened and amplified and accelerated. A full moon all on its own can trigger completion, endings, harvesting, or the end of something important. When the harvesting full moon energy combines with the splitting energy of a lunar eclipse, the gravitational pattern forces us to choose between two paths. Although a lunar eclipse can feel intense, overwhelming, and at times confusing, the splitting energy during a lunar eclipse provides us with a very exciting opportunity to move forward with the decision that we've been putting off, to choose our own path and confidently move in the direction we desire. We'll talk about how you can take advantage of a lunar eclipse in step 3, but first, let me talk about the energy of a solar eclipse, which creates acceleration energy. During a solar eclipse, the sun and moon are on the same side of the Earth. The moon being on the same side as the sun creates an intense one-directional pull of gravity on the water in your cells. We're not used to the sun and the moon being on the same team. Usually the moon is orbiting in some ways that isn't aligned with the sun at all. So if you happen to be a sensitive person, the situation where the sun and the moon are pulling in the same direction can feel really intense because it can make you literally feel pulled forward. As a solar eclipse approaches, you may find yourself feeling rushed or pressured or hurried. You may even find yourself feeling frustrated that you can't keep up with everything coming your way. Remember, a solar eclipse happens during a new moon, which is the phase of the moon when energy becomes renewed and reset and freed to become something new. A new moon all on its own can trigger new opportunities, new cycles, and rebirth. When the rebirth new moon energy combines with the acceleration energy of a solar eclipse, the gravitational pattern forces us to release what no longer serves us and to begin a new cycle in our lives. And the buildup before that rebirth can be pretty intense. So that's step 2. Identify whether you're experiencing the splitting energy of a lunar eclipse or the acceleration energy of a solar eclipse. And now that you've identified the type of eclipse and the type of energy, it's time to harness the energy by creating an action plan that goes along with each eclipse. And that's step 3. Identify an action plan. The action you take to harness the energy of an eclipse is directly connected to the type of energy it's emitting. So your action plan for harnessing the splitting energy of a lunar eclipse will be very different than your action plan of harnessing the acceleration energy of a solar eclipse. Let's start by walking you through the action plan for a lunar eclipse. And get ready to take some screenshots to save for later. During a lunar eclipse, we're exposed to splitting energy. To harness this energy, we need to reflect on the situations in our lives where decisions need to be made. Maybe we've been putting off small decisions like what color to paint the walls, or whether or not we should cut our hair. But during a lunar eclipse, it's actually more likely that we're going to be forced to make big decisions in our life, like whether or not to apply for a promotion, or how to handle a dispute with our child's teacher, or how to confront our partner about how they've hurt us. A lunar eclipse presents the scenario for decision making. Because the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun are on opposite sides of the Earth, the sensation of this split can amplify and aggravate any indecision we've been experiencing. It takes what feels like a slightly uncomfortable situation of feeling torn and amplifies it so that it becomes intolerable. I mean, let's face it, the sensation sucks. It can feel super intense and the pressure can feel overwhelming. But the gift of a lunar eclipse is that it exposes us to enough discomfort so that we can no longer avoid making the difficult decision. It increases the pressure, which increases our ability to finally make a decision. So, your action plan around the lunar eclipse goes like this. Step one, slow down and reflect on areas of your life that need adjustment. Give yourself the opportunity to do an honest assessment of the dimensions of your life so that you can highlight situations that need some extra tender loving care. Step two, identify what you've been putting off. You need to be brutally honest here and ask yourself, where are you underperforming? Where are you procrastinating? What are you avoiding? What decision does your life really need you to make right now? And write those things down. Step three, reflect on your options for moving forward. Spend some time reflecting on your next steps, writing out pros and cons, or journaling about your feelings related to the choices you have to make so that you can create a holistic picture of where you are and maybe where you want to go. And then step four is take action, do the thing, take the next step. Even if it's a small one, start moving in the direction you've decided. The energy of a lunar eclipse is a wonderful opportunity to be honest with ourselves, to reflect about what we really want, and to finally choose a path so that we can move forward and evolve instead of just staying stuck. So that's your action plan for a lunar eclipse. Now let's talk about your action plan for a solar eclipse. During a solar eclipse, we're exposed to acceleration energy. To harness this energy, we need to reflect on the situations in our life that need an extra push. Maybe we've been working on a project at home, or we've been exploring the idea of opening up our own business, or maybe we've been working hard to invest in our relationships or our physical health. The acceleration energy of a solar eclipse can give us just the right energy to push through, buckle down, and finally complete whatever it is we've been doing. Because the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun are on the same side of the earth, the solar eclipse creates the sensation of speeding up, being pulled forward, and being rushed to the finish line. It'll take what feels like an impossible to finish situation and give you the extra energy to see it through. The solar eclipse puts out some super strong energy, and let me be honest with you, weird stuff can happen. You might find yourself getting sick, or you might feel more prone to accidents, or you might feel more edgy and apt to start an argument. This is why the solar eclipse has such a bad reputation and stirs up all kinds of apocalyptic predictions. But doomsday scenarios aren't helpful around the solar eclipse because they paint a picture of powerlessness, like we have no say over what happens when the energy speeds up. And this just isn't true. The gift of a solar eclipse is that it provides us with the extra energy we need to manifest, move forward, and make something happen, but only if you know how to harness it. So let me share your action plan for the solar eclipse. Step one, identify the area of your life on the brink of change. This may be in your physical, mental, relational, financial, or spiritual experiences. Take a moment to reflect on areas of your life you're trying to evolve and identify just one you'd like to move. Step two, imagine what this dimension of your life will look like once you push through any obstacles that have presented themselves. In my work with sensitive women, I help them use what I call sensate meditation, where they create a highly detailed 3D sensory focused map of what they want their life to look like. Before taking action around a solar eclipse, you need to specifically write down what it is you want to feel in alignment with what you're trying to manifest. This is what gives the eclipse a blueprint for where you want to go. Step three, plan, and plan some more. The solar eclipse energy makes it really easy to move forward and can tempt you to take action that you're not ready for. Instead of letting the solar eclipse energy take you anywhere it wants to go, you need to take a second and create a very strategic plan for what you want to do to get exactly where you want to go. And then step four, take action. Just as with the lunar eclipse, once you've made an action plan for yourself based on your vision, you need to do it. Harness the acceleration energy of a solar eclipse by taking strategic action in alignment with the vision you've created for yourself. The energy of a solar eclipse is the perfect occasion to push through barriers, turn obstacles into opportunities, and use the gravitational support of the moon and sun to motivate your action. I hope these steps empower you to harness the energies of an eclipse and use them for your highest good. If you're a sensitive woman and you enjoyed hearing the science behind today's steps, please hit that like button to let me know. And then check out my free training. It's a 60-minute, highly detailed masterclass where I help you understand the science of your sensitivities and teach you 5 skills to harness them today. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for investing in yourself today. When you evolve you evolve everything and everyone around you. If you want to learn more, be sure to check out this video next. And until then, take care of you.